Hey, Ben with Studio on the Lake once again. Still in the middle of winter. We have had snow for the last 5 days. Not too much of it. Hey, I wasn't planning on doing this video, so I guess this would be a bonus. Guy at work who does leather crafting wanted to know if I would make him a leather head knife. And I said, sure, that sounds like fun. So there it is. It's sharp enough to cut your finger, which I did. It's not completely shaped at the top yet, but that's something that he gets to do himself. So initially I was going to make it out of an older saw blade. You can see a saw blade sitting in the background there. It's one of the newer ones. They tell me the older ones are made of T6 steel and they're fine. I thought I had a drawer of old ones and I didn't. So I went ahead and made it out of an old saw that will have no other use, thinking that I spark tested the edge of that and had some pretty good sparks. This I did not harden. As we get towards the end of this, you'll see. And the reasoning being that the oxyacetylene is out at the farm, and the farm is under about 6 feet of snow, so that won't be hardened until the spring comes around. It does work now. I think it'll work a lot better, and it will probably take a pretty good edge once it's hardened. I just used a cutoff wheel. You can kind of see the real time there. A lot of this video is sped up for your purposes, and you can see that's got pretty good spark color on it, which they tell me means that the steel has a good carbon content. I was surprised. I was able to cut this out with one cutoff wheel. That's not usually the case. I usually go through 4 or 5 of these when I'm doing something similar to this. I couldn't get the big grinder because it was not here either, although that might have been a little bit of overkill for this. This knife is used in leather working. I actually looked it up and watched a video or two on how the thing is used. It's a heck of a lot of knife, and it's kind of scary. I wonder if this wasn't, there's some smaller knives along the same lines, and what they were using it for. There's not much use for that whole curve on that. It's kind of like a Star Trek Batlick or whatever, or Klingon weapon. I mean, they got so many sharp edges and curves on it that you'd hurt yourself just picking it up, let alone trying to use it for what it was intended for. And I was sharpening this and decided that I was done when I cut my finger on the end of it, when I brushed my finger against the tip. So tonight I'm on nights this week, so I'll take it in, and that other pilot that there's with me, he can sharpen his own knife to his heart's desire. I'll take him all the whetstones and all the stuff that he needs to do that. Cuts amazingly fast, speed it up 5 times, as you can see. This whole video I had to do at a bench. It's a heck of a way to work, standing at a workbench versus a comfortable chair in the corner. In a second here, I'll save you guys some pain and jump ahead. No reason to see me cut that whole line for 10 minutes around the corner. There, it's broke off. As ordered, 5 inches. Left to right. There's a few more pieces in there. Off to the grinding wheel, make it round. You'll notice later on when I cut the wings up at the top, I did go ahead and finish the flat face surfaces on both sides. I ground an edge in it, the knife edge, into it. But I noticed I had one wing that's off a little bit and could use some filing. I'm going to give it to the guy and let him use it for a little while. And then I think I'll take it back, and when spring comes around, which hopefully is only a couple months away, and I'll harden that edge and then clean up the symmetry of the whole thing. I was trying to do it pretty quick just to see if this metal would work, and it turned out pretty nice. That's a mini carver with a sanding disc on it. It was there, and my big right angle grinder with the sanding disc is, guess where? Not here. Things happen in the winter where out at the woodlot or the farm, call it both things, the tools that are out there have a tendency to stay out there throughout the winter, and then in the summertime they migrate back and forth. Anything that's over here at the lake house is stuck here, and anything that's out at the farm is stuck out at the farm. High-speed measuring templates there, laying those out. You'll notice one of these, when I cut these, one of them's off. It's a little bit whacked off. I'll fix that. It looks pretty good there with if I'd have just stayed on those lines, but I didn't. They talk about ballpoint pens being a great invention. What would we do without Sharpies? Sharpies are the money. It's been a while since I've been over to the corner with the lathe. I threw a piece of hardwood on there to turn the handle out. Got a little GoPro camera on the right there. It was all set up, ready to go, and it filmed for all of 30 seconds. And then when I got this rounded down, I peeked over to see how it was doing, and it wasn't doing at all. So I set the big camera up on the end and try my best to keep my hands out of the way of the thing. And I ran this all at nuclear speed. Nobody needs to see my turning technique necessarily. I'm not sure I have any turning technique, so it's better that we do it fast. I'm spinning that chuck, make sure it's got little knobs that stick out on it, and it will catch that. There's no reason to tear up the tool post. Someone would get that lathe when I'm gone and say, "Oh, the guy abused it. He kept running the tool post into the chuck. What a shame." My daughter won't let me have any of her screwdrivers because I treat screwdrivers badly. They do all kinds of neat things that you wouldn't think a screwdriver could do. So she protects her screwdrivers. I bought her some for Christmas and said, "Here, now you have a full set of screwdrivers." And she said, "I have screwdrivers, I just don't get them out when you're around." And I tell you, no. Got the kind of the shape that I wanted there. You saw I measured the handle. I'm going to inset it. I thought perhaps I'd put a rivet or two in there. I'm not going to do it since I need to probably pull this here in a couple months out of the handle and harden it, temper it, and then it should be good to go for a couple. Watco Danish oil, quick on the handle there. I run it all the way down in various different grits. On that it gets pretty smooth. Finish it off with 4.0 steel wool and let it run for 3 or 4 minutes after I'm done, and it just as dry as can be and ready to go. That's how it's going to work. You can see on that thing as I'm cutting the handle off that right side that I boogered up, and I didn't take the time to clear it. I wanted to get it done, and then I noticed after I put the handle in that I didn't go back and make that look right. I'm going to take that tang over there and grind a little bit more of it off. I was thinking about perhaps cutting and slicing the end of that, sandwiching the handle between it. Then I decided to just go ahead and drill a couple holes in it and then hog it out with a grinder so that it fit down in there, and it'll be set with 5-minute epoxy. And there, just a hair needs to come off of the outside of the handle. There's the hair ground off. I didn't pain you with that. Actually, I was too lazy to move the camera over by the grinder. There's a brass ferrule. A ferrule is just a piece of brass tubing that's cut off there. Had I been smarter when I was turning it, I would have put the mic gauge on it. I usually do. Didn't think about it, so ended up carving a little bit off the tip of that and setting that in there. And that's how that ferrule goes on. I left it a little bit proud. It's pressure fit down in there. And then when I'm done, I'll take the grinding wheel. Again, I didn't film that. I'm going to cut that part that's on the tip that's run over. And look how close. It's not too bad. You can feel it with your finger when you run across there. I stuck that little piece of that bit in the end there and put tape on it, put it back in the chuck, and ground the wood down and refinished it all in about 2 minutes. This is the 5-minute epoxy. It's ready to go. I liberally put it down in there and then on the tang of that thing. Off camera, I did cut the end of the ferrule and polished it up and made it smooth. And this is kind of fun. I was tapping. I sharpened it a little bit to see how it would do before I went any further, and it seemed to be doing fine. There's the finished product. It's not sharpened yet, and I'm not going to show you that. That's a matter of 4 or 5 minutes instead of the required 10 through 4 grits of stones. And there you have it. That's a leather head knife. There's the rabbits and the squirrel. I was told this morning that a fox zoomed through the yard and scooped up a rabbit, and off he went. A big red fox. And they're supposed to have their kittens, I guess they're called, in February or March. Someone in the background shook their head and said March, and there's supposed to be 6 or 8 of them. They hang out under the back of the studio, and my 2 big dogs are too stupid to know that they're there. Hey, this has been Ben with Studio on the Lake. Thanks for watching.